Welcome to Semiosis 101 Season 2's 6th semiotic video. If you've watched Semiosis 101 videos before, then you will already know I am Dave Wood. Season 2's semiotic theme is a semiotic Rosetta Stone, which is a metaphor to the unlocking and design-centric translation of Charles Sanders Peirce's semiotic theory of semiosis, sign action. Why do you need Semiosis 101? Peirce's writing and terminology is very obtuse. In the next 3 Season 2 videos, I will be focused on a question from a creator's point of view. What can semiotics do for me? In this video, we begin to answer that qualitative and subjective question as fully as possible. To begin this, I will review 2 more books on Peirce as I found useful. Hit subscribe and I will explain. What can semiotics do for me? That is an honest question asked by anyone. My answer will be the same as everyone else's answer. It will not be a simple market ease, feel good soundbite. The answer is, it depends. The answer depends on the personal needs of me. Do you want semiotics as an analytical tool to deconstruct the impact of what has already been visually created? This will lead to a different answer to those creators who wish to improve how they create designs and illustrations. So, do you want semiotics to enhance your effective construction of visual communication? In the question, what are your expectations for do? I presented 2 scenarios for creators in regard to me and do. Deconstruction post-creation or construction at ideation. Semiosis 101 favours the latter. To explore in this video what semiotics can do for you constructively, I will review 2 more books that helped shape my thinking around this question. The 2 books I will review are sort of thematically linked from 2 different perspectives, one from theory and the other from comparative practice. These books are Peirce for Architects by Professor Richard Coyne and A General Introduction to the Semiotic of Charles Sanders Peirce by James Jacob Liszka. Now, a general introduction book on Peirce's semiotic theory is useful, I hear you visual communicators say, but architecture? I did say this was comparative. Some of the talented graphic designers I have met have begun as architects, so bear with me. Coyne's book has a great Peircean insights directly applicable into visual communication design. But first, an admission. Professor Richard Coyne was my PhD Viva internal examiner at Edinburgh College of Art in 2016. As part of my viva voce defence of my thesis, Professor Coyne asked me why Derrida, another philosopher, was not central in my doctoral thesis. This led to an interesting discussion where I defended my centering of Peirce as one of 2 philosophical themes I was synthesising, the other being Heidegger's hermeneutic phenomenology. More on that same later in Season 2. Fast forward to 2019 and Professor Coyne is inspired to re-examine Peirce in the context of his discipline of architecture in a new book. During the first COVID lockdown, I bought his book out of curiosity to discover this kind of acknowledgement in his book. A PhD thesis by Dave Wood renewed my interest in C.S. Peirce. Okay, bragging rights now over and onto the review of the rich insights of applying Peirce into a comparative design discipline. Architecture is not visual communication design. So in this book, I was interested more in 2 aspects: Coyne's interpretation of Peirce's writing and then the general application into a different design discipline that can be modelled to another. On the first point, considering my PhD thesis was the catalyst for Coyne to begin rethinking Peirce, I was particularly interested in his thoughts on the 3 categories of representation: iconic, indexical and symbolic. It is the middle level classification of indexical that he sees relevant to his discipline. But throughout the book, he provides more designer-centric context in which non-semiotician creators can grasp the theory, especially on page 21. Peirce was one of the founders of the philosophy of pragmatism, which follows a rule, a pragmatic maxim, that sets its philosophical line in sand, so to speak. Peirce's semiosis emerges from his pragmatism, so the maxim helps ground the theory within rules on application. For non-semioticians, the maxim is just another technical detail in the way of creatives' understanding. On page 104, Coyne offers creatives a summary, which I will paraphrase for brevity. A thing's meaning is dependent upon the practical application of the use of that thing. We will dedicate a future Semiosis 101 episode to the pragmatic maxim, but for now the important notion to grasp to move on is that the thing for us is whatever we need to semiotically encode. There's a link in the YouTube description below to Professor Coyne's book. The second book is by Liszka and one of many introduction books to Peirce that I have in my personal library. The alternative spelling of semiotics with an extra E stems from the ancient Greek root of mark, seen. For the non-semioticians in the Semiosis 101 audience, a tip. If you attempt to read it one chapter at a time, hoping that each chapter will build a literal progression of understanding of Peirce for creatives, you will quickly get disillusioned. These books are not written as creators' how-to guides. It is an academic book going into depth on aspects of Peirce's theoretical semiotic writings. So how does a creative gain insights and value from such books? Strategically. Approach it as a design researcher. Start with the index and contents. Firstly, in this review, I will present you with a summary of what I found crucial in this book that added to my growing understanding of Peirce. Secondly, I will demonstrate my technique for discovering the useful information and how and where I have used this new knowledge. Before I proceed, let me emphasize I own this book and my technique would be adapted to library books in a non-permanent way. I use colour highlighters. There, I've said it. I permanently annotate in my reference books. I do this while I read so I can quickly find the information again. In library books, I do not. Instead, I use the non-permanent highlighter sticky strips that peel off. Okay, good practice pep talk is over. On to the review of Liszka's book. This book is erudite, but my first strategic research reading of Liszka's book was part of a literature review. Therefore, I used the index to locate the references to abductive reasoning, more on that in a future episode, and the triadic relation in the determination flow. Through locating a number of pages where variations of those terms appeared, I used highlighter colours to locate them for future referencing. In this episode and the following two episodes, I will be referring to Peirce's semiotic relationship between, in design-centric terms, the concept, its representation, and then interpretation. But there's no chance of a creative finding those terms in such a book index. Peirce's terms are object, aka concept, representament, aka representation, and interpretant, aka interpretation. Liszka breaks the operation of these terms down in detail. In his second chapter, Semiotic Grammar, Liszka discusses in depth 4 formal conditions that Peirce sets out that a semiotic sign must have. I will summarise these conditions of semiotic sign here in design-centric terms, from which some future Semiosis 101 episodes will then explore. 1. Representative condition. It must correlate to or represent a concept, object. 2. Presentative condition. It must have some sense or depth in its presentation of the representation. 3. Interpretive condition. It must articulate something to someone. 4. Triadic condition. It must mediate itself as a sign through the interrelationship of the first 3 conditions. In the context of the question that began this video, what can semiotics do for me? What do these 2 books do to help answer that question beyond a glib depends? To end this 6th season 2 video, we can straight away say that the question asked at the beginning is not helpful. So let us reframe the question, and here is why. Design, graphic design, interactive, illustration, etc. It's not a selfish act. Design is for someone. The designer is not serving their own needs. The outcome of design is for a target audience. That target audience in Peirce's semiosis is entwined with the designer and client. From the 2 books, you can now see 2 sides to the effect of semiotic encoding of meaning. Come back to Semiosis 101 for the next 2 weeks as we will reframe this week's question in 2 ways. What can semiotics do to help creators encode richer meaning, to hook and maintain an audience's attention? I am Dave Wood, a design educator and researcher, a published design author, and I've worked commercially as both a freelance illustrator and graphic designer. The guy behind the theory, Charles Sanders Peirce, was a philosopher, a mathematician, and a theorist. But he was not a creative. Each week on this Scout Scott Semiosis 101 YouTube channel, I will post at least one 10-minute explainer video on an aspect of Peirce's pragmatic semiotic theory. Each video will feature a take-home piece of applicable semiotic theory, and they do interconnect to build up your understanding of semiosis. Each free Semiosis 101 10-minute video will use designer-centric terms instead of theoretical language. As a fellow creative and a published design author, I have a link in the description to my Scout Scott website. If you're interested in reading my Semiotic Rosetta Stone academic writing, then you can visit my academia.edu link in the description. Any other books on Peircean semiotics or design I have mentioned in the videos are also listed in the description. Check them out too. On the Semiosis 101 Substack semiotic resource, I have support materials for both free and paid subscribers. There are full annotated reading lists, video transcripts, 5-minute reads, plus other goodies and exclusive Semiosis 101 merchandise. The Substack link is in the description. Thanks for watching. Check out the other Semiosis 101 videos, like and share them with your friends. And hit the bell and subscribe buttons to be notified when next week's free Semiosis 101 video is published. You can also follow Semiosis 101 on the socials for updates. It is Semiosis 101 on Instagram and Twitter. See you all again next week for more Semiosis 101 to help illustrators and designers to enhance your visual communication skills.